fact of the matter is, we are talking about a massive expansion of the federal government, literally to give people pretty much free everything. Now, not only does that contradict, I think, what this country was all about, which in its inception was about freedom and liberty, personal freedom, economic freedom, individual responsibility, providing people incentives to achieve and to do well, making sure that we have programs in place, safety nets for those who need that help. But the idea that at a time when the economy is growing and expanding and unemployment is at a fairly low rate historically, we are creating jobs that the federal government would think that it needs, in all its wisdom here in Washington, D.C., to infuse $5 trillion. We already have inflation. It's the highest rate in 13 years. You think pouring a lot of flooding the economy with a whole bunch more money isn't going to exacerbate the inflation problem we already have? Not to mention, they're talking about paying for it. I don't think it'll all be paid for. I think a lot will go on the debt. And by the way, under this budget that's being proposed today that the Democrats are on a one-sided partisan procedure going to vote on is the biggest thing that we have seen, certainly in my lifetime, and will dwarf, as I said, anything that we've seen in history. And the debt at the end of all that, 2031, in the 10-year budget window, will be $45 trillion. $45 trillion, 130%, 134%, I should say, of our gross domestic product. There was a day when we were worried about borrowing up to 100% of GDP. Well, we've blown past that. We've dwarfed that. This is now completely out of control, completely out of hand, and we're talking about a massive new amount of spending to expand government, and to the degree that it is paid for with taxes that are going to hit individuals, they're going to hit businesses, that are going to hit small businesses, they're going to hit farmers and ranchers. You go down the list of taxes, of tax increases in this proposal, again, I mean, I don't know where you stop. And the idea, the suggestion by the administration that you're not going to hit people who make less than $400,000 a year is just absolutely, again, I think insane. I don't know how you can raise $3.5 trillion in taxes and not have an economic impact felt by people on the lower end of the income scale. I mean, think about it. When taxes go up on businesses, what happens? Well, people work for businesses. Democrats think it's easy. We'll just raise taxes on businesses. Businesses aren't paying enough. Well, where do people in this country work? They work for businesses. That's where they get their paychecks. That's where they get their benefits. Wages go down when taxes on businesses go up, to a historical fact. And if you think about what also happens when taxes are put on businesses, businesses obviously, they can do a couple of things. They may reduce wages or not hire people or reduce the size of their workforce, but they also pass that on, the cost of higher prices, to people out there in the economy who are paying the price for that. That's what we are talking about here. It is just absolutely, absolutely stunning, really, in my time in the Congress, to observe something that is being compared to, historically, the New Deal, in a circumstance where the economy is growing and expanding. People should be going back to work, and at a time when we have already a $30 trillion debt, as I said, headed in 2031 to $45 trillion in debt, and something that literally dwarfs, as a percentage of the economy, what was done at the time of the New Deal. The parallel, the analogy that's being used here by my colleagues on the other side. There is just absolutely no rationale, Mr. President, for doing this.